Coming up on 60 Minutes.
Looksmaxxing is self-improvement.
Looksmaxxing is a form of excellence.
Behaviour that's beyond baffling.
Why wouldn't you do anything and everything to maximize it?
The young men who think doing this
bone smashing
will make them more attractive.
Yes.
And the experts who say it won't.
It's just shocking.
That's next on 60 Minutes.
If you don't already know about what's called looksmaxing, then your first reaction might be to laugh when you see it in action. But that would be wrong, because this phenomenon, born of course from the internet, is not only nonsensical, it's incredibly dangerous. And it's causing damage to Australian adolescent boys and young men. On the face of it, looksmaxing is just that, maximising appearance, a kind of self-improvement that makes them irresistible to others. But how it's done defies belief. Looksmaxers advocate drugs, surgery, and even self-harm, using a hammer to smash their faces to try to realign bone structures. Not surprisingly, we need to warn you, this story contains some graphic images. It's difficult to make sense of what you're seeing. This 21-year-old Queenslander claims he's making himself look better by reshaping his face with a daily routine of repeated punches to his jaw and cheeks. Watching it's strange enough, but hearing him talk about it is even more baffling.
If you have force to any bone tissue, something called osteocytes will signal for another thing called osteoblasts to essentially grow the bone matrix in that area locally.
Where did you learn about this?
On the internet.
There, it even has a name, bone smashing. Believe it or not, this is a new global movement called looksmaxing.
High testosterone took my face from this to this.
Teenage boys, and men in their 20s, going to extreme lengths to improve their looks. Tonight, the confusing, weird trend that's leading young Australian males down a dark path.
If you're physically unattractive, it's unlikely that you'll be able to have these romantic relationships. So it all comes back to looks at the end of the day.
For most young men, mascara isn't part of their morning routine. But Nocturnal Kent, as he wants to be known, won't leave the house without it. What does it do for you?
Makes me feel more confident.
Do you ever get any funny looks? It's not typically how men go about trying to look attractive, but...
It is unconventional, but if you do what's ordinary, you stay ordinary.
Ken's goal is to be extraordinary, and he swears the only way to achieve that is looksmaxing by any means. The challenge in meeting a looksmaxer like Kent is deciphering what's real and what's designed to get attention.
It genuinely means maximizing your looks, essentially trying to look as good as you can. If you look really, really, really good in today's world, you have a lot more influence than somebody who doesn't.
Beyond dyeing his hair and eyebrows and wearing makeup, Kent says he's achieved this transformation by doing what medical experts consider preposterous, like repeatedly striking his face with his fist. I don't want you to be hurting yourself.
Of course.
I feel like you are.
I really appreciate the empathy. A lot of people don't understand how it works. Bone smashing. What a horrible term. What it really is applying a controlled mechanical stress to bone tissue to grow it.
Not only that, every day Kent also consumes glass after glass of sugar mixed in milk to, he says, help grow a strong, chiselled jawline.
Do you think sugar's bad?
In excess, of course. How much do you take?
I take about 500 grams of white sugar every day.
That's a lot.
Do you think bodybuilders who eat 500 grams of white rice is just as unhealthy, even though white sugar and white rice are glycemically identical? Inside your body, they're almost identical.
Of course, doctors would say that is incredibly unhealthy. But what Looksmaxers are terrific at is cherry-picking information online to back up their cause.
Looksmaxxing isn't insecure at all. And the main reason people think it is because they assume that it comes from a place of self-hatred.
Ken himself has tens of thousands of followers on social media, where he shares his advice with photos of what he once looked like.
This is the secret of how I went from acne, bloated, and unappealing.
Another defining feature of the Looksmaxxing movement is the cultish slang they use to describe what they do. What's mogging?
It means to outdo somebody. If you look better than another person, some individuals would say you mogged him.
Ascending. What does that mean?
Ascending is this colloquial term that means rising above and trying to become the version of yourself that is most optimal.
Have you ascended?
I like to think I've ascended, yes.
You know, right? You know people are going to listen to all of those terms and watch what you do and think it's ridiculous, if not dangerous.
Absolutely. I do what I do because I like looking at the mirror and feeling happy. And all of these terms are not meant to be taken seriously. They're really just used because of virality and they sound funny.
Do you remember the first time you started seeing stuff like this? I thought it was a joke.
But it's no longer a laughing matter for clinical psychologist Dr. Zach Seidler.
And now it's somehow filtered its way into society at large. It's really concerning. Are we taking this seriously enough? I don't think so. I don't think so at all.
It goes without saying, science proves it's mostly rubbish. What worries Dr. Seidler more than anything, though, is why they do it. What's created all this?
I think that there is a real dark undercurrent of nihilism, fundamentally, which is telling young guys that life is hopeless, that there is this rank and file, there is a hierarchy, there is endless competition, there are so many guys out there. You need to find your way to work your way up that ladder, because without this clout, without this maximizing your looks or otherwise, you're going to just whittle away and you will not be able to make your way. You will not be able to have a mate. You will not be able to have financial success and status. It's all about winning and competitiveness, and really, sadly, what it leads to is self-destruction.
The belief that looks do influence how you're treated in society has legitimate science backing it up.
So you share that ideology?
Absolutely. I think that if you're a logical person and somebody came along and told you the color of the shirt that you're wearing influences how people treat you, would you not make sure the color is perfect? You will have better success landing a job if you look better. You'll have better success finding a partner who loves you if you look better. This isn't to say that you can't. It's to say that it could be easier.
Kent's ideology is inspired by the world's most famous, or infamous, Looksmaxxer.
My name is Clavicular. I'm 20 years old. I believe in looksmaxing.
Braden Peters, better known as Clavicular, has brought Looksmaxxing to the masses.
Got it?
But for someone who's a hero to many young men around the world, he's decidedly sensitive when it comes to answering difficult questions.
Don't try to go down that line of questioning with me, all right? Because I'm not doing
Coming
it
up, what this confounding character thinks of anyone who dares to confront his controversial views.
I mean, that's quite literally the worst sequence of questions I think I've ever heard.
That's probably going to be a crazy one.
Braden Peters, better known by the alias Clavicular, has turned body dysmorphia into a serious moneymaker.
Looks like they're almost ready to go.
As the world's most notorious Looksmaxxer,
You just go get some Adderall or whatever.
he loves basking in the riches and infamy the strange movement has given him. From his mansion in Florida, he's getting ready to chat to 60 Minutes.
Dude, oh my God. Mom, get the camera. This is a breakthrough interview I needed.
But even before we start, it's clear we and our crew are already part of his circus.
Cancel interview, cancel interview.
Clavicular is live streaming every second.
Okay. 60 minutes.
Australia.
Yeah.
It's how he makes his money, reportedly earning around $100,000 a month from internet subscribers.
You'll get a lot of Aussie fans? Yeah, that's true.
There we go, and got it?
Clavicular, thanks for chatting to me.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
What do I call you? That's my first question.
You could go with Clav.
Do you go by Braden anymore?
Haven't heard that one in a while.
Clavicular's looksmaxing journey started when he was a teenager, injecting steroids. To look good, he now bone smashes, takes copious amounts of prescription drugs, and even illegal ones, like methamphetamine.
Do you believe in eugenics? Yeah, you do.
That's a loaded question. That's a complex one.
He's so outrageous, he's gained huge social media traction, where the algorithms are helping him peddle dangerous ideas to impressionable boys in Australia and around the world.
Let's see. With great power comes great responsibility.
When did you start taking testosterone?
When I was 14 years old.
14 years of age.
Mm-hmm.
What possessed you to start doing that?
There's no reason for me to go to the gym and work out in any way other than the most efficient one, and that was with anabolic steroids. So it's sort of like a cheat code.
What about bone smashing?
Well, it's exactly how it sounds. I mean, you're just creating microfractures in specific areas of your face, and the idea behind it comes from Wolff's Law, right? So when you break down a bone, it grows back stronger.
And meth. I've seen you say you take meth. Why would you do that? Why?
Stimulants suppress your appetite, and that is a stimulant with a very long half-life, meaning the suppression of your appetite lasts the entire day.
I put very little stock in what Clavicular has to say, although he is very convincing.
Unlike Clavicular, Dr. Angie Terrace is a licensed and qualified aesthetic surgeon. She, as you might expect, considers extreme looksmaxing to be either substance abuse or nonsense, like striking your face to grow your jaw.
Oh, it's just shocking, especially some of the things like the bone smashing. I mean, there's just absolutely no scientific evidence behind most of the things that they are talking about. Let's say you smash them hard enough to cause some trauma. You have no control over how these bones are going to heal and remodel. If they're not hitting it hard enough, then you're not really doing anything. You're causing inflammation, you're causing swelling. You might see a little bit of a change because of the swelling there. There could be bruising, and so that's going to go away.
The reason why their message resonates so well is they show before and after photos. You've probably seen that.
I've seen some of them.
What is that really showing?
Puberty's happened.
Yeah.
So their face has changed anyway. And sometimes you always wonder if they're been getting other treatments as well that they're not talking about. So it could be a combination of both those things.
Dr. Terrace is quick to discredit looksmaxing because she's experienced the impact it's having. At her clinic in Melbourne, she's seeing an increase in not only men seeking traditional plastic surgery, but those who've been motivated by looksmaxers. As a doctor, does that put you in a rather difficult position?
It does, because you have to sometimes say no. Patients don't like to be told no. And so there is a lot of time spent trying to basically correct patients' thinking and saying this is actually how it is.
But Clavicular sees no problem in inspiring young men to get potentially unnecessary surgeries. In fact, he encourages it. He's become a pseudo-celebrity, streaming to global paying subscribers nearly 24 hours a day. And for him, the more impressionable, the better. Do you feel bad about that?
So do you think people are better off living in a fantasy land? It really is like copium fantasy land stuff to tell people that their looks don't matter.
Surely, Clav, it is a happier world when people don't sit there and obsess over their looks to the point they're hitting themselves in the face with a blunt object.
Well, I mean, why? If looks are the most important metric, why wouldn't you do anything and everything to maximize it?
I'll tell you what, boys. The face might not be the greatest, but look at those tits. That's something right there.
It's not just Clavicular's obsession with his looks that's most concerning. He preaches a sexist ideology that women are only interested in the world's most attractive men and will withhold sex from any man who doesn't measure up.
If you're gonna try and kiss me, don't bother.
I'm not gonna get
It's misogyny that mobilises Clavicular's followers as his beliefs play out over and over again on social media feeds.
I think that young men are arguably living in the worst dating market that has ever existed with, a lot of the tendencies of modern women. We take a look at, all the stats that are released by like the online dating apps and how the bottom 80% of women are going for the top 20% of the profiles on there. You could overcome a lot of disparities by becoming rich, by becoming famous, or whatever type of success. But if you're not physically attractive, then you won't be able to really have lasting relationships with women.
I would disagree and make the argument, Clav, that character, personality, maturity, intelligence are far more important than appearance. Do you think I'm wrong?
Well, bingo, there it is. But those are all perceived entirely differently, once again, based on your looks. So you're absolutely correct. You're just forgetting that key piece of nuance that is kind of the reason that my message resonates so well.
Clavicular was let out of jail on bond.
It's a message that's led Clavicular into some serious trouble.
Do you have any comment on the charges against you?
What are your thoughts?
Just days after I spoke with him, he was arrested, accused of instigating a fight between two women to, yes, film it and share it online. Clavicular is a guy that courts controversies and is constantly criticised for his anti-female rhetoric. So, I wanted to ask him about Looksmaxxing's origin in the incel community, involuntary, celibate men who hate and blame women for their lack of sex. Looksmaxxing was obviously a term created by the incel community. How do you feel about being linked to that group?
I'm not linked to that group in any way. Looksmaxxing is self-improvement, right? So it's about potentially even ascending out of that category. And so that would be kind of one of the goals, is to disassociate from being an incel and overcome that. So that doesn't make sense.
Yeah. There's no doubt about it.
Bringing up incels certainly got under Clavicular's skin, but it was mentioning his links to notorious misogynist and accused human trafficker Andrew Tate that really sent him spiralling. You've obviously shared company with Andrew Tate and other, dare I say, rather controversial figures. Why do you spend time with people like that?
All right, have a nice day. Are you trying to, I see you want to make this political. Too bad I didn't have time to look into, anything about potentially, who your wife cheated with, but don't try to go down that line of questioning with me, all right?
I mean,
because I'm not doing any political.
I'm not married,
gesturing,
but
so.
I was simply only asking because obviously
maybe you got a Looksmax then. So I could teach you about Looksmaxing then. Maybe you could switch that up. But thanks for the time. Appreciate the interview. All right.
The thing about Clavicular is his cameras always stay rolling. Not only did they show he's not a fan of mine.
What a slimy bastard. That guy. Piece of shit. I didn't like him.
But also that he, despite the criticism, has no intention of changing.
Yeah, of course. No, Tate's my boy, and we're going to be doing a collab soon. I've got no problem associating with Andrew Tate. It's like, yeah, I'm doing collabs with Andrew Tate this marathon. He's going to be here in Miami soon.
Coming up, how parents can navigate this confusing craze.
We can play whack-a-mole and get rid of one influencer at a time. It's not a good solution. It'll never end.
I work out 6 days a week on a normal week, and then I have a strict diet plan, heavy in protein, low in carbs. I focus on staying lean.
In England, 23-year-old Tom Thebe seems like the pin-up boy for Looksmaxxing.
I have been dealing with hair loss, unfortunately. I'm not genetically blessed, so I do take medication for that.
But that's not all. He also takes unregulated peptides in his quest to look his best.
I take GHKCU for my skin, melanotan in a nasal form for my tan.
Has that all given you a better quality of life?
Yeah, I would. Just to be honest with you, the whole reason I do it is because it makes me feel more confident. I am what a Looksmaxxer should represent.
In the extreme world of Looksmaxxing, though, Tom is somewhat of a calming influence in all the madness. You certainly won't find him hitting his face in a misguided attempt to grow his jaw, or signing up for any unnecessary plastic surgery. In fact, he's as bemused as most of us at Looksmaxxers who promote that.
A lot of what they do say is for clips and views, and that's quite apparent, I think.
You think they're doing it for clout?
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah. I do think they wake up in the morning, start bone smashing. No, definitely not.
Tom is a voice of reason Looksmaxxer Nocturnal Kent refuses to accept. The 21-year-old Queenslander tells anyone who'll listen that he transformed his looks by something science absolutely debunks: bone smashing.
How many people come to you?
Oh, hundreds a day.
Really? Hundreds a day?
Yeah.
You're serious?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very real issue.
Whether you choose to believe that or not, Kent does run courses for young Australian men wanting to look better. And I was curious what that might entail.
Is there anything I could improve?
Oh, mate, well, I'll say right now,
I'm going to regret asking.
I think you would look top-notch with dyed hair. 100%.
Are you talking about my greys?
Mate, he's a bit of a fox, but if you dyed your hair maybe just a bit more darker, like jet black or brown, you would look stellar.
What's wrong with the salt and pepper? Isn't that in?
Well, it just looks slightly old.
Kent's such a nice guy. It's easy to forget that his ideas can seriously harm other young men.
Would you ever suggest to someone like me or anyone that maybe there might be some more extreme methods that might help?
If you came to me in a desperate situation where you were just miserable over your looks and it governed your life and it governed how you felt living, I would cross over into the threshold where it gets a bit more extreme, where it crosses into what I personally did, because I would resonate with how you'd feel.
We can play whack-a-mole and get rid of one influencer at a time. It's not a good solution. It'll never end.
While it's easy to write off Looksmaxxing as narcissistic, clinical psychologist Dr. Zach Seidler says that doing so just pushes these boys further to the fringes of society. Are there misunderstood Looksmaxxers and then dangerous Looksmaxxers, or in your mind, from a psychological perspective, is it all just problematic?
I think that it's all misunderstood and dangerous. Because I think that what underlies the psychology of each of these men is very different. We know that lots of them come from trauma backgrounds. Like, what is driving a 14-year-old to start to inject steroids, use meth, smash themselves with a hammer?
It's a good question, and Kent reckons he's got a good response. One he's been thinking about since he was a kid.
Childhood was amazing for me, right? Up until primary school, happy kid, and I loved life. However, as I grew older and I entered high school, which is viciously known for social hierarchies to be developed, for influence to be learned, patterns, behaviors, that's when I started to experience the brutality of how looks influence how you're treated.
Brutality. That bad.
The saying that kids can be mean is an understatement. There's a reason the fat kid is picked on much more than the fit AFL player.
See, my immediate reaction to that is that changes as you get older. And the world doesn't necessarily work the way high school worked.
I would disagree directly. I would say high school is one of the most accurate preemptive simulations of how the real world will treat you.
It's a sobering, rare insight into what really makes Looksmaxxers like Ken tick.
We need to have empathy, mainly for the victims here, because that's what these young guys are. They are being played at an extremely vulnerable age when all they want is to fit in. It just so happens that it is supercharged because of our tech platforms.
Social media algorithms are clearly pushing vulnerable young men into dangerous places online. But Dr. Zach Seidler warns chastising kids risks sending them further down the rabbit hole.
We need to sit in the mud with them. We cannot speak at them. We cannot speak for them. You need to actually get in the swamp alongside them and say, I'm here and this matters to me.
Do you think it's a better world if we sit down and say, hey, looks don't matter, and convince people like yourself and others?
If everybody thought that looks wouldn't matter, the world would be a much better place. Unfortunately, it's impossible to do that. Humans biologically are not capable. If I were to do that, I'd be resisting the flow of society. I would be giving them bad advice.
On this week's 60 Minutes podcast, Extra Minutes, the shock of seeing young men harming themselves because they think it'll make them more attractive. The moment we started spending time with him and watching what he was doing, I wanted to become big brother or dad and just go, mate, don't do that. That is ridiculous. That's Extra Minutes, available now on the 60 Minutes Australia YouTube channel and your favourite podcast apps.
Hello, I'm Dimity Clancey. Thanks for watching 60 Minutes Australia. Subscribe to our channel now for brand new stories and exclusive clips every week. And don't miss out on our Extra Minute segments and full episodes of 60 Minutes on 9now.com.au and the 9Now app.